Let's see if I can find this really quick. Good morning. Let me go here. Going through these tracks, let's see. Patrick. Looks like we got that stuff going on with the connection this morning. If you're still there, thank you for that, Patrick. I appreciate that, man. More power to your low end and majesty. Boom. Yes, sir. Got some connection issues happening this morning, guys. Kath and Thabo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Good morning to you. Much love to you, South Africa, Portugal. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Give a few more y'all some time to jump in here before I get too far into it. I would have known I've been playing by now. I had to restart my computer. Larry, Quentin, good morning, North Carolina is in the building. What's up, man? Floyd says getting better. Yes, sir. Good morning, North Carolina. Know your sound. Yes, sir. Know your sound. Let me see here. I don't want to play around to this loop here, but let's see what Logic is doing. Yeah, let's see what Logic is doing this morning. I want to play around to it, but I don't know if it will let me. So let's see what Logic will do for this. Where are you at? Where are you at? Looking for something. I apologize for the silence, guys. If you're just jumping in, I had to restart everything. It was moving a little slow this morning, so you know how it goes. If you do any production work, any of that kind of thing, you know how it goes. You know exactly how it goes. So I'm gonna see if this will pull up for me and do right. We're gonna see if it'll do right for me this morning. So how's everybody feeling before we get too far into everything? Everybody good? You said the sound is better? The sound was weird? Sorry that the sound is weird. All right, good deal. I didn't know it was better. I didn't know it was like being weird. I didn't change anything, so it must be something with the connection. Sorry about that. So let's see what we have. I want to find a section in this tune and kind of play around with it a little bit. All right, that's fine. Let's see if it'll let me do something. Let me do it. All right, I'll see how it'll let me do it. There we go. Let me pull that down. Hopefully it does right. Alright, so can y'all hear the bass clear? I don't know what you're hearing over there. Can you hear what I'm actually playing clear? I'm going through this, trying to get these tone settings right to try to make sure it's cutting through clear. Can you hear it clear? This is kind of like jazz fusion, so to speak. That's what I would probably call this feel. Yeah. Dear, what's up, man? Going through these tones trying to get this thing together. It's weird to me this morning. I don't know if my ears are off. It's just something. That's why you see me going back and forth, because I'm hearing something that I'm not wanting to hear. The tone is well, I'm sorry. The bass is fine. It's kind of trouble going back and forth through different. You know. Let me kill this delay and stuff. All right, so let's find something different. Let's find something different. Don't save that. Let's kind of trying to wake the fingers up a little bit. Mm-mm. Trying to wake these good old fingers up just a little bit. Good morning, Tiffany. He said yes. I was working on this. I was working on this track for you guys to upload to it's like something to upload for the backing tracks. It was slightly a different feel from the usual groove. There's something that happens depending on the type of church or something type of church environment that you play in this particular groove that I created is something. It's called like a Sunday morning worship moment. There are things that happen that I don't know what other better way to describe it as prophetic moments in the church, and it's like you hear like a melody that's kind of in the air, and you catch it, and the entire band starts to play it. And I caught one of these moments. I think this was Saturday. I was doing something. I was finishing up a lesson that I posted for my monthly membership. And at the end of that lesson, I was playing something and it made something come to my mind. And that melody got stuck in my head. And I'm like, oh man, that would be like a good mode moment. I was going to write a song, like a real song with it. But I'm like, you know what? That would be something cool for, bass players to practice to because it's rare that, if you're new to it, that we know how to create in those moments, like really fine lines and stuff that keep the thing moving. And so I created something for you guys to practice to that is along those lines. And I don't know how else to explain it to you, but it's for that type of moment when you have just like it's a mode, it's a worship mode. I don't know. That's that's the bit. I got it. The name of it, and I'll probably upload it soon. I think this is gonna be the name of it, but like Sunday morning worship moment. So if you ever been in one of those situations that you guys just flow, and I'm not talking about like a praise break or a shout or anything like that. No, it's not that. It's more kind of more of a ballad, and it moves, it progresses throughout, but it definitely creates this thing where it keeps growing. I can show you better than I can tell you if Logic could do right this morning. Um, like I said, I was trying to play it earlier, and everything kind of went weird. I am using a lot of virtual instruments on here, so that might have something to do with it. But yeah, it's just for one of these mode moments when you're kind of in the midst of everything. It's very, very high energy, and it continues to build. And yeah, let's see if I can get it to do right. So far, not so good, but yeah, maybe some of you guys know what I'm talking about. We used to have them all the time at my previous church, and in these types of moments, this would be like ministering moments. Sometimes I know we would flow into a moment like this right after a really really good song. The band would kind of catch this melody in the air, or we would. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. We would catch this melody in the air and we would just kind of keep it going. And there would be times the pastor would walk up getting ready to do his thing because this would be like right after the choir had sang. And it would be so intense in this moment that he could not minister. He would have to walk back. I mean, like, not have to, but in that moment, it's like you could feel the presence of God so thick in the room. He would leave. Not trying to get too deep with y'all early in the morning. I'm just giving you facts. he would walk up to the podium, and since what we were playing wasn't just random music, it was actually a move that was happening in that moment. I mean, people would come down to the altar and like, just lay out at the altar. People that just got their hands lifted, and it's just the band playing. Um, see here. Bruce Young, play some music, please. Wow. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. So come in and hear it. And yeah, it's like it's in a moment of spiritual warfare. Thank you for that, man. It's like people would hear this stuff and it would catch them where they are, and it's like that moment would arrest them. So I'll play it. I'll play it. I can show you better than I can tell you because me explaining it to you, it sounds great. Just listen to it. It's very repetitive, like most of the track. It's a repetitive melody, but the point of this is for that melody. You'll hear what I'm talking about. Let's see here. Y'all playing everything. And it just goes on and on and on. But you to practice too. And all it's doing is going back and forth from G to B flat, back and forth G to B flat. And the thank y'all for the comments, the positive comments concerning this. That is me doing everything on this track once again. It's not mixed. That's probably why it sounds so weird. I don't know how it's coming through there, but for me, it's like, it's kind of weird. I had to get the thank you, Larry. I had to get the idea out of my head the day I heard it because it wouldn't go away. It was one of those things. Oh man, that melody is really sticking with me, and so it's going over the melody. It's going 2, 4, 7, 6. That's the whole progression. So it's going. Like 2, 4, 7, 6. Let's see here. He says that's going to be it in my head all day. The devil is mad right now. Absolutely, man. What's up, Dontavius? Nice groove for learning to play in different keys. I bet it will sound good for learning to play in all keys. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just one of them. Again, it's to me, it's not so much about when you start playing through this, because right now I'm just talking. But when you start playing with this backing track and you start playing through it, you'll see it's not about technique. It's not about building your chops. It's not about none of that technical stuff that we always concern ourselves with. This particular track is not about any of that stuff. It's it's hard to explain. When you play with it, you'll know what I mean. That's the best thing I can tell you. When you engage in it and you play it, you get the progression under your hands, and once you start playing with it, I'll try to put the progression either in the description or on the screen. I don't remember which one I'll do, but either way you'll see the progression there. So be sure to check the description just in case I don't put it on the screen. It's very, very simple. You going ba ba da dum ba da da dum ba ba da dum ba da da dum da dum da and then you just go to the 1 to change keys. Bum, 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 bum. Go to B flat and do the same thing. Bum, bum. 2, 4, 7, 6. That's it. Now, when you go to you change back to G, you go a whole step from that 7, and then back to that 2 for G. That's literally all it is. It makes you, it sounds like it's doing more, but that's it. That's the whole thing. I'm just playing around that particular progression. And it's a lot of different substitutions that you heard me doing as well. So you'll, as you get into it, you start hearing all these things like where I was holding the 5. Over the 5. Like you can literally ride the 5 the whole time. I wouldn't substitutions where you ride the 5 or where you heard me riding the 6. Each one of those in a, I'm not gonna say religious type setting, but the best way I know how to classify this type of track is like more of a warfare type thing. So in terms of categorizing it for gospel is like warfare type music. So each one of these notes, when you start substituting notes in these kind of things, each one of those notes create a different type of sound. When I play the 5, open it, it's kind of like a release kind of a sound in terms of got you, man. So like it's more of a release. When I say release, meaning like breakthrough. Like Israel has a song called like Lord of the Breakthrough. It's kind of the same type of vibe. It's real prophetic type of song. And when I'm using these type terms, I mean like in the spiritual world, that's how we classify these songs in like gospel or whatever. This is more of a prophetic type sound. So each note that you choose to play is going to cause a different thing to happen. So when you play like the 5 over this type of groove, again, it's more like a release sound. People lose their mind, like they don't lose their minds literally, but when those type sounds happen, it shifts what they're hearing. Like something shifts in the atmosphere, something shifts in the room, and that sound creates a different moment in that particular place. When you play the 6, that 6, that minor over this progression creates like a real warring type sound in terms of the drums would generally, if you were in a live setting and you play that 6, the drums would play a little bit more of an aggressive pattern over that 6 because it's creating some type of tension that's that's really building. It continues to build tension, and when you move into that different chord, it sounds deep, but when you're playing it and you're in the moment, I'm explaining it outside of the moment, so it just sounds like I'm talking a whole bunch of gibberish. But when you're in the moment, in these types of environments, and you play this stuff in the moment, you'll see what I mean. Like, oh, that's what he meant by that when he said you play the 6. Just notice the feeling of the room changes when you play each one of these different chord substitutions. Like I told you, the pattern, I'll play it low. When you pull on that 5, and normally the chords would need to change when I'm playing that 5. So now let me mute something because I can still hear that bass moving around. bass out of there because I guess I played the bass pattern. But normally in a live setting, I'm trying to recreate live for you guys so that you can actually feel what it feels like if you've never played in these type settings, so you won't be completely lost. But normally in these type settings, it wouldn't be, the bass line wouldn't be so heavy. But if you decided to change and switch over that five, normally the music director or somebody would call. They'd be like, hold the five, or they would say something like that. And in those moments, it creates a different feeling over that groove. It just is, again, it's hard to explain. And the drum pattern would change. So like right here, when we go to that six, it's going to create like a type of tension that you want that tension to release. So if we go to that six first and then go to that five, it's almost like that six builds a lot of tension and that five builds a release. That's what I mean, like in musical terms. Six builds that tension over this groove. So let's go here. Let me pull out these piano chords and that distortion guitar that's playing the bass, and hopefully you can hear a little better what I'm talking about in terms of that tension, because you don't hear those two basses clashing. Alright, so cool. That's it. I think I got it out for the most part. We still had the melody there. So let's see. I'm not trying to record anything right now. So, all right. So here again. Here's the me playing that tension, and I'm gonna release to the five. I went like flat 7, 4, 7 to the 6. That creates a different mode. So all of these different chord substitutions, and that's a whole lesson in itself to when you start creating chord substitution over this type of music, knowing that every note means something and it's not random. When I'm playing this type stuff in these moments, I understand how these notes, even if I don't fully understand all of the chord, just using my ears and using what I feel. You can't just pick a random note. It has to be relative to that chord, which means that that note needs to be somewhere in that chord, or it can be added to that chord to create another type of sound. Because if you start adding random notes, not only will you clash chords, but it can mess up the entire moment. So as you're hearing me doing all these chord substitutions, that's not a license in those type of moments, especially in those type of moments. That's not a license to just try to substitute notes just because, well, Jermaine was playing something here, because the substitution you might try to play doesn't work over that particular thing. And when you do that, you kind of ruin that mode, and it's hard to get it back up because, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but these moments like this, if you guys play in a church or if you play in any type of religious organization, these moments are sensitive and these notes mean something. when we just take it and we just solo and we just playing through all this different stuff. It's cool. It has a little vibe to it. It creates a different vibe. The whole woo and wow factor, that's there. But when it gets a little deeper than that, when you move beyond being technical, um, these notes mean something. They definitely create very, very serious moments. And you have to just be sensitive to that stuff when you're playing in my church musicians I'm talking to now. When you're playing in a church service or that kind of thing, you have to realize that you're playing something that matters in that moment, and it's not to be taken lightly because people's lives depend on. You might be like, man, that's a little deep. Ain't nobody's life depending on what I'm playing. You just never know. I've been in situations and people have been delivered by something that we play. Delivered, what does that mean? Meaning people have had addictions, people have had issues with certain things that they battled with for years. You don't know it in the moment because you're just enjoying what you're doing, but they come up later or they come up to the altar and it's like, I've been dealing with this. I've been dealing with migraine headaches. I've been dealing with depression and all this stuff. I was thinking about killing myself before. I'm telling you actual things that have happened before. And they're coming up, man. It was just something about that sound. When y'all were playing that sound, I was hearing stuff. And I believe that as a musician, as a minstrel, you tap into different realms. And I know this might be super deep and early for some people. Like, wait a minute, bro, you going way, way too deep. I'm sorry. It is what it is. So on a spiritual sense, once you get past the wood and the strings and the notes and the technical, what is this chord and how do I play this lick? Once you move past that stuff, you start tapping into something else that's supernatural. And that's like one of the, to be trusted. Let me say that, to be trusted to do that as a musician, to be trusted to tap into something that's so pure and innocent and be able to pull that out of nothing, meaning what we can see here in the air, like it's kind of like the wind. You can't see the wind, but you know it's there because you can feel it blowing. So for you to be able to hear something like that, melody for me comes out of a supernatural realm. It doesn't matter if anybody else gets it. I know it. I feel it. I've been there. I've sensed these moments, so I'm very, very sensitive to them when they happen. So when you're able to pull something out of nothing or something out of the supernatural and you're able to manifest it in the natural and play it, a melody that you're hearing being sung over your head or being played over your head, because there are other things that are at work that we can't see, but when you're able to tap into that and play it out and minister that and not deviate from that too much, because there are moments even like that repetitive melody, sometimes there's something in that repetition of that melody that people are hearing. You don't know it and you can't put your finger on it, but it's changing something for people. And the more that they hear it, it gets stuck in there. It's stuck in their spirit, kind of like, man, I'm gonna be singing that melody all day because that melody does something. Like it's doing something else other than just being a cool melody. There's more to it than that. And I really, really wish I could do like and I ain't gonna say I wish, I will do a seminar on this stuff at some point, where we really, really dig into that type of stuff, because that in itself is a whole nother thing, really understanding sound and understanding how certain sounds affect the atmosphere, certain sounds affect the environment. And it's like you just can't get away with doing random stuff. So as much as I want to help musicians to learn and to improve and to kind of know what to do, and the better you know your instrument, now I'm not saying throw away all the theory and throw away all of this other stuff that you've been trying to learn. The better you know your instrument, the better you know how to navigate, the better you can operate in those moments. You have to be really, really skillful in order to be able to like properly operate in those moments. Because if you're fumbling around trying to figure stuff out, it's going to be difficult, number one, for you to really tap in and be in tune with that moment, because you're too busy lost. You're lost. And if they go to B flat, you're definitely lost. It's like we're playing in G, I'm cool. I finally got the progression in G, and then they moved it to B flat, and then they keep going back to G. So you're lost. You can't ever tap into that whole spiritual moment that I'm talking about, because you're too busy being frustrated because you're lost and you don't necessarily understand what's going on because you don't completely understand this instrument. Greetings to you guys, man. Joshua, greetings to you. So it's very important to kind of in the moment. So Demetric says, "Good morning, sir. It's been a minute for me because I'm uh, work, but I'm okay. I got you, man. Good to see you. To everybody else that's been speaking, good morning to you." And San said, "Let's see here. David was a great example of using his gift with the anointing to play for Saul because of the bad spirits on him." Yeah, if you read that, and that story is familiar for some and foreign to others. David in the Bible, everybody knows David for fighting Goliath, David and the giant, David fighting the giant. But what most people don't know, especially if you're not in the church, even if you're not in the church, everybody kind of knows about the famous battle, so called battle, if you're not a believer, of David fighting this giant with five smooth stones and a slingshot, which was actually not a slingshot. It was something that he made out of a bag or something like that. But anyway, David was also a skilled musician. And that is the thing that got him to not only just killing Goliath, but the fact that he was so good at what he did in terms of playing the instrument that he played. Saul was being tormented. King Saul at the time, who was king when David fought Goliath, he was being tormented by evil spirits. So he called for somebody to be able to, and I see your question popping up. I'm gonna come back to it, Robert. But he was being tormented by these spirits, and he called for somebody who could kind of calm him or bring. And David was the one who was sent to Saul to be able to play when these, spirits and stuff were bothering him. So David would play, and it would cause these quote unquote spirits to leave Saul alone at times. Now there are other times that Saul tried to kill David because Saul was crazy, man. He had some stuff going on. But David was able to play so skillfully that these spirits left him alone. So that shows you in these instruments, there's something that we can break up in the supernatural that's happening there. People, like when you see people, here's to bring it real world for some of you guys that feel like, okay, y'all, bro, you way too deep, man. This stuff ain't none of that stuff happening. When you see people walking around, especially if you live in a big city, and you see people walking around out of their mind and they're talking to themselves. And I don't mean the just the casual. All right, let me remember what I came to the store to get. I remember I was supposed to get some milk. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about having full blown conversation with yourself and you laughing and you having a good time and ain't nobody out there with you. And I don't mean the healthy kind. I'm talking about, okay, something wrong with dude. Something is definitely wrong with this guy. And you see them clothes tore all up, hanging off, guys not taking a bath. I got one in my neighborhood now that, yeah. So when you see people like that, you got to know that it's not only mental, it's something else that's happening. Because how can a person go, what's going on, Melvin? How can a person go with no medication, having an issue like this, to living a normal life? That means something outside of their quote unquote doctor prescribed chemical balance was off. Sometimes these people are actually dealing with spirits that are causing them to think and feel these different things. But it's like most people are so used to writing everything off as nothing. It's so amazing to me what we will choose to believe in, and I didn't get on here to talk about all this, but it's funny to me what we will choose to believe, but what we will choose to ignore. And I think Satan's biggest one of his biggest things that he's been able to accomplish with mankind is making people believe that he doesn't exist. I remember I heard somebody say that a while back. Is that's one of his biggest schemes. He's been able to convince people that he doesn't really exist. Because if I don't believe that he exists, there to me, I don't ever address a problem for what it is. I always call it something else. And as long as I'm calling this thing something else, I can't really deal with it. What's going on, Chris? You know what I'm saying? Like, as long as I'm calling something else, if put it like this, if my daughter is doing something that I don't want her to do, and I keep yelling. My daughter, we call her Ellie. So if I keep yelling and saying, Jackie, stop, get down, Jackie. What? she, my daughter's gonna look at me because I'm talking in her direction, and she's like, that dude ain't talking to me. My name is not Jackie. My name is Ellie. So she gonna keep right on doing what she's doing because I'm not addressing her. I'm not calling her by name. I'm not calling whatever she's doing out because her name is not Jackie. And as long as I keep saying, no offense to nobody named Jackie, but as long as I keep calling Jackie, she's not gonna respond to me. So she can rightfully ignore me because I'm not talking to her. But the moment I call her name, Ellie, stop, she has to respond to me because I have authority over her. And once I recognize what her name is, she also recognized that I know I have authority over her. But the minute, I mean, as long as I'm sitting here hollering at Jackie, he ain't talking to me. I don't have to do what he said. I can be looking in her direction and saying Jackie, and she still, in her mind, he's not talking to me because that's not my name. And as long as you call somebody something else, they don't have to respond to you because that's not their name. Same thing with Satan, in my opinion, with what he does in the world, what the things that he sets into motion and torments people with and allows to happen. As long as you keep calling it something else, oh man, that person is just this, they just have this disease. They're off their meds. They need this, they need that. No, what medication does is medication suppresses what's there. It doesn't really control it. It allows you to deal with it. It's almost like it calms the body or it calms that part of the mind or whatever it is. It calms it down. It doesn't deal with the root of the problem. It doesn't get rid of anything. It just calms it down. And all you're doing is calming that particular thing down. You're not getting rid of it because the moment that medication wears off, it kicks back off. And some people, if it's extreme enough, they fight right on through that medication like nothing ever happened. The human body is subject to that medication. And because this particular spirit is occupying a body, it has to, kind of respond to what that body is doing to a certain degree. And if you seen extreme, y'all seen, some of y'all watch the movies called The Exorcist and all that kind of stuff. Y'all know I'm not lying. It's like you may think this is just a horror film, but there are people who have really dealt with that stuff in real life, dealt with demonic spirits. And if you went to a really, really charismatic church where they actually dealt with those things, because those spirits only show up in places where there are high spiritual activity. So if your church, and I hate to say it to you like this, but if you go to church at all and you're at like a really boring and dead church, meaning they're very, very traditional and it's always safe, play by the rules, everything, there's not a lot of spiritual activity, but it's just like a lot of rituals and tradition that happen, you will probably never see any demonic spirit stuff happening because there's no threat there. But the moment that there's a threat, meaning if you're really, really tapping into supernatural stuff by what you're doing, by what you're singing, by what you're playing, now you start to see spiritual activity happen. Some of you guys have watched TV over the years and see these churches where they're casting out spirits, and he's like, man, what are y'all doing? Y'all in there playing, y'all in there, they're having all these little. It's easy to be on the outside looking in, judging, and that's judging from a point of ignorance because you have no reference point for this stuff. It just looked like they just playing games, and some of them do. I'm not gonna say all of them are legit. Some of them are playing games, but there are places where there's high spiritual activity happening because you've opened up another realm, and when you open up this other realm by tapping into these other things, it's a spiritual realm, which means there are good spirits and there are evil spirits, both at work. But when you open up their realm, you access either or. It's kind of like people who do voodoo and all these different things. They are accessing a spiritual realm. So when it's like, I heard the story about this lady, and you guys may have heard this in New Orleans or something. She got into it with this guy, and they said she took a voodoo doll or something and threw it on the ground, and the guy that was the guy that was messing with her, he fell dead right then. And people's like, this, you messing with this voodoo woman and all this kind of stuff. Some people believe it and some people don't. No, that stuff is real. I don't know how this conversation got there. I was supposed to be talking about something completely different, but you're here now, so you always got the option of clicking off if you don't like what I'm talking about. But this stuff is real. The supernatural is real, and what I don't want you guys to do as musicians, especially as you guys who play in the church, don't think that this stuff only exists when it comes to that negative realm or that dark realm of dark magic and all that stuff exists because it's in a spiritual realm and it's in a supernatural realm that cannot be seen with natural eyes, but you see the manifestations of this stuff happening. And so when you're playing, you're accessing even these people that play certain music that have dark origins. You're accessing a spiritual realm when you start getting really, really into that music. Like you're accessing that realm. And when you access that realm, you release certain things. Like you're either setting some good stuff into motion or you're setting some bad stuff into motion by what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're playing. I witnessed this stuff firsthand, and if I had not witnessed it myself or had an encounter with things, I would probably be like, man, all that stuff, bro, you way too deep. But when I had my own personal encounter with this stuff, I'm like, oh, it's a whole nother world out there. It's like it's another level to this stuff. So once you start trying to understand all of that, how does that relate in any form of fashion to bass playing? I know somebody's got to be asking, especially if you jumped on late. It relates because once you get past a certain level of understanding music, you start to really understand the power of music. It's more than just notes and being able to chop. Oh man, it's so much more than that. And a lot of these musicians figured that out and they used it. Music can be used to manipulate. Music can be used, music spans a range of emotions. Depends on how you're feeling, that determines the song you want to listen to. Music has the power to take you down or to take you up, depending on what you're feeling at the moment. So as you become skilled in what you do, you start understanding what type of emotions that this music can control. And a lot of people have learned how to manipulate music in order to control those emotions. Think about if for you married people, you with your significant other, you're not trying to play Kirk Franklin Stomp right at that moment. Like if you try to set something up, you're not trying to play that. You're trying to play something that matches the moment. You're trying to play something that actually will positively affect that moment. And so, music has the power to do that. Music has the power to make you reflect on something or to make you remember something. Certain songs make you cry. Certain songs make you laugh. Certain songs make you joyous. Certain songs can make you depressed. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of power in this stuff. And when you understand that it goes beyond just being good and being able to play notes, now you're tapping into some other stuff. All right. I have witnessed jealousy among church musicians than any other genre of music. I was getting recognized by members, and then piano organist started playing over my lines. Oh yeah, you're gonna see all of that stuff happen in church. Let me go back up to some of these other comments that you guys have given. All right, cool. It's not actually iterating that same. Well, when that's the other thing. Being a very skilled musician gives you a lot of power. Yeah. So being a really give me a second. Hold on, y'all. Sorry. Let me get this here. Being a skilled musician, it gives you access to a lot of power. Okay? So if you are skilled, hold on here. All right, Melvin, I see you gotta go, man. All is well, man. Hurricane Sally. Oh wow. Well, be safe out there, man. He said, how do you handle that? Well, when you are skilled as a musician, like I said, it creates power. Some people can use that power in positive ways. Some people can use it in negative ways. It's all about who you are as an individual. And when people feel that power become threatened, it's like any other thing or any other job. If they're used to having that power, they're going to fight for territory. They're going to fight for territory because some people are narcissistic. So you got to understand that as well. Some people want all of the glory for themselves. They're not in it to bring God glory, or they're not in it for the band. Some people are completely in it for themselves. They are really, really good, and they're used to everyone telling them they're good. They are used to that praise because for them there's a deficiency somewhere, and they got used to people praising them. So it's almost like they live off of people praising them, so they continue to do what they're doing in order to get that praise. The best thing I could tell you in order, as far as dealing with that, if it's a moment where they're trying to overplay you and it's creating something that's almost causing tension, I'll let them have it. If you know I'm playing the bass line and you're intentionally trying to be messy or something like that, oh, we can quickly end this. I'll back off and let you have it until you're finished. And you don't have, I know it sounds bad, but because what I was about to say next could sound bad if it's taken out of context. It's like you let them do all of that, and then they're looking at you. It's like, are you done? All right, cool. Well, let's get back to this music, because it's like that's the only thing that can happen. When you stop playing, it exposes what they're doing, because we both can't occupy this same space. If you're not just stacking what I'm playing and we're playing it together and we're unified with it, I'm playing one thing and you're playing a whole other thing, trying to outshine me. That's a done deal. I don't have to prove anything, so I'll just let you have it. And matter of fact, to go even a step further, I'll rock with you. I'm like, woo, I'm not gonna be all sour face over there. It's like, because I'm aware. Going back to what I was saying earlier, you understand. I'm sorry for my title because we got way over into something else, but it is what it is. Stay committed though. But you have to be aware that there are people in that, especially the church musicians again, there are people who are in there that are watching you. They're watching the band, they're watching the way you're acting, they're watching the way you're interacting, and your faces and your body language and all that kind of stuff gives off what's going on. And so these people are going to sense that, and they're going to either be inspired by it or turned off by it. So you have to make sure you're choosing the right side of you're choosing the right thing to do with that power or with that moment that you have. Because if this person is intentionally doing stuff, trying to be messy, trying to create junk, I don't have to go down that road with you. It's like there's a verse in the Bible talking about basically doing good to people who are doing wrong or who are doing evil to you. It's like putting, coals on their head, putting like a heap of coals on their head. And that got a double meaning to it, and I'm not gonna get into all of that. But basically, you do good to them people that's trying to do wrong. You're like, all right, so you're trying to use this moment because people are responding to what I'm doing, and I'm getting love for what I'm doing, and I don't have any ulterior motive behind what I'm doing. I'm just enjoying what I'm doing. People can sense that I enjoy what I'm doing, and they're getting with me, but you're jealous because I'm pulling some attention away from you. It's like, I'm not going to get messy and get mad when you start doing that. Like, no. If you start getting in my zone while I'm trying to play or hold the song down and you're trying to outshine me, we can end that. This doesn't have to be a battle. I'll just drop out and let you rock out. I'll let you rock out, jam with you, because you can control that moment, believe it or not. Even though somebody's trying to be a certain way, you can control it. It's almost like the Jedi mind trick, reverse psychology. If they're trying to take the glory, let them have it. Let them have it. Let them have their moment, because if that's what they want so bad, go ahead and give it to them, because they received their reward. What they wanted so bad, they get it right there in that moment. And you just know in your mind, because I'm not doing it for that, there's something else coming for me down the road, that this little moment, this doesn't equal, or it doesn't even come close to what's coming for me down the road. Not in a selfish sense of the meaning, but just understanding like, man, you can have this moment. Because I'm trying to accomplish something in this moment that clearly you're not trying to accomplish. You're trying to conquer or accomplish some self-glory, and that's not what I'm about. So yeah, let's rock out. I'll let you do your thing, and then we'll just get back in the groove and just let it roll off your back. Because I think we get hung up. This is the thing, and that's a strategy. Hate to get deep with you again, but I'm gonna call it for what it is. That's a strategy by Satan amongst church musicians that he's been using for years, amongst artists, gospel artists, and that kind of thing, that he's been using for years. Divide and conquer. if I can keep you divided, you'll never get to that sound that I was playing just a minute ago, because it's too much of a war going on. And if I can get the musicians, the ones who actually usher in or create or bring in that particular sound that I'm talking about that actually changes things, if I can get y'all warring against one another, you'll never play that sound. So your people at your church or wherever you're at, whatever the function you're at, they'll never hear that sound of unity because there's division. As long as there's division, you will never hear that sound, that melody that comes that you hear singing. That only happens, let me say this, that only happens when there's complete unity on stage. That's when that happens. There has to be complete unity on stage. Everybody has to be of one mind, not everybody all the same. That's not what I mean. Meaning, like, in that particular moment, in those moments when these are ministering and these are worship type moments, you know what I'm saying? There's what's going on, man. There's things that are happening in these moments, and you all have to be on one accord in order for this to happen. This doesn't happen by accident. This stuff is intentional. It happened. This is happening intentionally when this happens. But if y'all are warring against one another and somebody's trying to outshine the other person, no, you ain't got to worry about that moment happening. And you don't recognize. Remember what I was telling the scenario about my daughter earlier when I was saying my daughter, as long as I'm calling her Jackie, she's not going to respond to me. And as long as I'm blaming that problem on the organ player, the devil is cool about that whole thing. It's like, man, dude, you listen. Y'all go ahead and y'all argue now. I'm gonna go over here and get the choir members into it so that they can fuss and fight about something so that we cannot create glory in this moment. Because there it is. So that's the thing I'm talking about. You moments you're not fighting that's attached to it, so we can easily blame this on a person. You're fighting a spirit. If the organ player, any of you guys at your churches are, you're dealing with this stuff where an organ player on the surface level, you're not dealing with them. You're dealing with spiritual warfare and you don't know it because there's a spirit that's trying to get glory. Think about Lucifer, who he was. He was a musician and he wanted to outshine God. So who better to use? Who are the most influential people? Not basketball players. Who influences culture the most on the earth? It's musicians. So why not come into a church service and have musicians at each other's throat? Because you can't create glory when you're at. I'm sorry if I got too deep for some of y'all. Y'all ain't used to this from me, but it's what it is. You cannot create glory in these moments if you're warring against each other. And the biggest thing you have to recognize who's the real enemy in this moment. This is not the organ player that I'm warring against. I'm warring against the spirit. And the best thing I can do in that moment is not fight my brother. I can't fight him because we're on the same team. I have to, in my mind, the best thing you can start doing, because you asked me if you're still here, you asked me, I think it was you, Robert, how do I handle this moment? I would say you have to start praying in that moment. You need to start praying in that moment for your brother and for that spirit or whoever it is that might be dealing with this. In that moment, you have to start praying that that spirit leaves and be aggressive about what you're doing. Like really, really tap in, be serious in terms of make sure your motives are right. Musicians that play for church, our goal is to be skilled and be very proficient at what we do, but ultimately, why are we doing this? We're trying to bring glory to God. Like we're trying to that's when we start creating these other moments. We start seeing things happen because you understand. So I'm warring in the spirit. And so now I'm making sure that my heart, my spirit, my mind, all that stuff is right because I know there's more at stake here. It's not just a gig. It's not just something that I just get paid to do. This is something, it goes a little in spiritual. Somebody said, Jermaine says, yes, indeed, the biggest thing for us as musicians to be spiritually minded and to give glory to make religious setting, even if you're not, because I got all walk people. Do what you do. I'm not forcing anything on you. I believe what I believe. I believe it's for me. So I'm cool with what I believe. But if you choose to go a different route, I would say this, be careful and be mindful of what you're exposing yourself to. because enough is never enough. It starts small and it's innocent. It starts small and it's innocent. I'll get a little bit of this. It's almost kind of like the Ruffles chips commercial. If you're old enough to remember this, it's like, I bet you can't eat. Last thing, I'll wrap up because I see they got rid of most of my people here. Yeah, but when these other things are allowed to come in, they're there to bring you down, and you have to quickly recognize what they are and deal with them for what they are. So kind of go back to some of the stuff that I said earlier and recognize what it is and why it is you're doing what you're doing, and you'll begin to see the difference. You begin to see the difference in what it is, uh, and how you play, and you start to sense it. You start to be sensitive to it. Anyway, long story short, I'm about to wrap up track, and I will upload this backing track today. Lord say the same. I will upload this backing track so that you guys can start practicing to this backing track, and you can kind of get the feel for what it is I'm talking about. Also, if you guys haven't grabbed my new book, I do have some new books available. I have a short, well, you can get it on Amazon. Look up 10 Ways to Success, The Working Musician, Jermaine Morgan, obviously. On Amazon, it's available now in the Kindle, and it's in the paperback. I will be making the PDF version available on my website, jermainemorgan.net. And I do have a few paperbacks, probably about 20 or so. Very, very limited run right now. So if you want a signed paperback, be sure to send me an email, jermaine@jermainemorgan.net, and I will get you a signed paperback, or I will probably, more than likely, I'll put them on the website. It'll just be a few. Once we are out of stock, we're out of stock till I get some more in. But go ahead and get your order in. Obviously, those are not gonna last really long. I just ordered those first few to get to see what they look like for myself, because I don't have a paperback yet. I've seen them, but I don't have my own personal one, so I just ordered a few. But as I ordered some, I noticed a lot of people started telling me they want a signed paperback. They want it signed. You can get the paperback yourself off Amazon, but obviously I can't sign it if you get it yourself off Amazon unless I see you somewhere. So that don't look like it's gonna happen anytime soon. But if you do want a signed paperback, I do have a few. Listen to you playing guitar on an album. Awesome guitar. And thank you, Robert, man. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you for everybody who hung around through the distractions of the internet connection this morning. I really appreciate you. Hopefully I've said something that really, really helps you. It didn't have nothing to do with my topic, but it's all good. So y'all have a great day. Be blessed. I am out of here. Much love. Peace. All right.